So it's going to segue into Ilhan Omar. She, I don't want to call it the hypocrisy on the left because everybody does that crap, right? But it's pretty amazing how she's been able to get away with so many different statements about Jews, about Allah, basically. And you're going to get into this with me because you're the one who brought it up to me. How she's been able to get away with so many different statements and the media literally doesn't cover it, or the Democrats keep her at bay, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, boy, same thing. And I'm noticing this. I may be crazy here, and I'm just going to say it. It's the Muslim thing. Here's why. Keith Ellison did almost the same thing, and he was accused of doing the same thing Al Franken was accused of. And Al Franken he quit. He resigned.
Yeah.
And Keith's a Muslim. Keith Ellison, he's from Minnesota. He's a Muslim. Ilhan Omar, a Muslim, right? That lady calling Trump a mother. If they'd have done that to Obama, oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's just this theme that's going on, and we have to talk about it eventually. People know that there's something up with this whole Muslim thing. You know what I mean? And I'm not against them.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people, and I kind of want to say this. I'm not saying that all of them are bad. I do think there's a radical side, just like there's a radical right, radical left, radical this, that. But there is a side of radicalism that if you're not paying attention, dude, I'm telling you, the things that you allow, it was Jonathan Edwards that said, what one generation tolerates, the next will embrace. If you continue to allow hypocrisy to happen, it will eventually catch up to you.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah. And from the conservative side, we tend to drown ourselves out with the whole Muslim Islam thing, right? Because we've had the voices that all Muslims are bad and Islam is a cancer and all that, right? And kernels of truth. But what has to be recognized, and we've got to figure out a way to message this properly so it's put in its proper place, because there's a lot of times where liberals will look at evangelical Christians and they'll go, see, you're being okay with it because they're purely evangelical Christians, you conservatives.
Right.
And we look and do the same thing about the whole Muslim thing. There is truth to the protection of Muslims because of the whole Islamophobia word. You notice that word always comes out as soon as something, if there's any criticism that's thrown out, Islamophobia, 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 right?
Same thing, but same thing with, like, you know, the flipping, what do you call it? Gay thing, the transgender thing. It's
homophobic, sexist, transphobic.
They're not Christophobes, though.
No.
They're not constitutionophobes. Is that even a word?
We're gonna hashtag that. Constitutionophobe. Republic
phobes. There you go. I mean, really, they're law phobes. Really, they're afraid of what law is supposed to do. Moral phobes. They're afraid of real morality.
Yeah,
because it's not subjective, right?
Yeah,
and that's what's scary. But continue. I'm sorry.
No. You're good. We have to call it for the way it is.
Yes.
Now,
and I would never say half the stuff I said, by the way. You just have a different opinion. Sorry.
So I want to start with something more subtle that I think conservatives need to just leave alone and then get into the more grotesque stuff. But she had said a quote about the cathedral burning down.
Right.
And she called it art and architecture, and then had spoken about, you know, this prayers and thoughts to those around it, the whole situation. Don't die on that hill. Don't die on that hill. Because there's a lot of people coming out and saying, see, she's totally against the worship and all of that. And, you know, no, just art and architecture. She's trying to be somewhat respectful in her own way. I'm not saying she totally respects the cathedral, but that's not the hill to die on. The hill to die on is something like members of the Jewish community. I know how it feels to be hated because of my religious beliefs. Almost 1 in 5 hate crimes committed last year was motivated by religious bias, with 18% committed against Muslims. Here's why. Well above the historical averages before President Trump's election. Hate crimes actually went down, right? So, in a 2014 tweet during Israel's hostilities with Hamas, she prayed for Allah to awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. Okay, now we have to get into, how do you view an independent nation.
That's right.
That is an ally of America.
That's right, dude.
And what do you feel about them?
That's right.
May 31st tweet this year, she referred to Israel as an apartheid regime. That's never a positive light, right? So the big thing lately was the 9/11 quote,
right,
where she said some people did some things. Art and architecture, okay. This one,
that one stung.
That one stung. You get into the psychology of it. If it really affected her, what happened, she would not have said some people did something. She was trying to bounce around. Islamic terrorism did this horrific incident.
Right.
She was trying to get around it. And that's where the problem lays. And that's why people were upset, and I don't blame them, and I think they should be. And that's where she needs to get criticized from both sides.